Now, on the other side, you think that Hannah Bisu hasn't done enough and so does not warrant retention. So your vote for Mago. Why?
Okay, I'm Sharifa Abdullah, former TAI president, Yampala campus. The reason why I'm saying that we should have a change, Mago is a unifier. We want somebody who has a formidable front to fight for the women's front. We want a woman who, when we call, she will pay. A woman who has time for the delegates. A woman, when you call her at night, even in the midnight, she will get up and listen to your call. We want somebody who has a listening ear. That is why we want a change. As for the 4 years, let's ask, what has Dr. Hannah Bisu done? If she has a mission, she should put it forward. What has she done? We are saying that, as Mago, she is saying that at least we should have appointment for over 60% of the women. When a woman has a problem, her doors are open. It is not about picking people to do what? To vote for you. The whole 275 constituency, Hannah Bisu have given only her original, what did they call it? Pick up. You should give to every regional women organizer a pickup. You should not be choosy. You should be what? Mother for all. That is what we stand for. That is why we are saying that we need a change.
And then at the end of it all, she says it's all inclusive mandate she's holding. She wants to put everybody on board. Be you a young girl, a young man, an old, and even everybody. She wants to put everybody on board, and it's going to be an inclusive management.
Now, your colleagues argue that your candidate is not a unifier.
Because Mami Hannah Bisu na women's swing, and now your tea and can baby. Yeah, to a back, we are young people for we are young. Hannah Boa man and why Nam Street, Namma no our hay. Namma no our hay. COVID-19 buyer, Mammy Nam Jum, and Nama Buffos and Nam Jum, it's like a song. And yet, campaign Mount Rabiano. Now, Mamma Kawa, it's in a Mamma back. I'm a woman saying, Nami a branch woman organizer for 16 years. Nami national women's organizer. And then Buko Constance to be able to branch woman organizer say, one of national women's organizer. Original Mammy waiting. Mammy Juma Wayano. Woman organizer someone as a beer, Mammy say, women's wing about 2 NDC. National women organizer now you're my chairman. What the man is seeing, what radio station, one Namquasu, one Rajum, and now NDC Baba, and to move for office, Baba Yaja. I know your minister. I don't know some Baba and Sam, every Yajuma, Etimamino, Yatwana, so I'm another hoop of I'm a Bamitasi.
Well, so it's getting interesting, and so, but what is important that you should note is that in a short while, delegates will decide as to whether it's going to go for Margaret Ansai, popularly called Mago, or Hannah Bisu will be retained. But for now, let me hand over back to Eric Ahando, who will continue from here.
Okay, so Wisdom, thank you very much. It sounds exciting. You know, they are members of the same family, and they are fighting for somebody who will lead them. And it is interesting that you have two opponents debating why either Mago, that's Margaret Ansay, or Dr. Louisa Hannah Bisu should lead them. This is Wezo TV, this is TVXYZ. We are bringing you a live coverage of the NDC's ongoing elections. That's the Dr. Alex Segbefia. And he said, if the NDC in the 24 elections, the NDC would have failed Ghanaians. Yeah. His argument was that the narrative of many people in the country is total disappointment. Beyond the economy, they are looking at governance issues. And so he said, if you look at the general picture, it is like the education sector has been destroyed, the health sector has been destroyed. In fact, all other sectors have suffered heavily. And so because there are two major political parties in this country, and from time to time they switch, there's a lot of things that Ghanaians have regretted, and for which reason they are looking at the NDC. He also added, the caveat was that the leadership of the previous NDC administration, that's John Mahama, who is most likely to be elected again to lead the NDC going to 2024, has a track record that is now comparable to what the NPP has done. And so there is no way the NDC should disappoint Ghanaians. So I'm sure that is why they are saying our last hope in the theme they have chosen.
So what basically this means also is that it is not just about the NDC party, but Ghanaians at large. Because like you mentioned, the challenges we are faced with now does not differentiate between who an NDC is from who another political party is. All of us are suffering. So all of us are bearing it. Now, if you listen carefully to Wisdom when he interviewed the family who he spoke with earlier, one of them mentioned that Mago is a unifier. I mean, is that what the NDC needs at this point?
It's a difficult question for me to respond to because they have not decided. So at the end of the elections, we may look at what the delegates have chosen to reflect on the campaign themes, the campaign promises, the conversations and the slogans that characterized what they wanted to share with the delegates to vote for them. But I would say that yes, NDC wants to see a party that is looking at itself as one to go into the next elections. They are looking at a party that will elect leaders who will be open to everybody. A party with a leader that will be able to embrace all hands with all kinds of expertise to work. Because whoever is chosen is only going to lead a pack. That person is not necessarily going to work alone. And so if they suggest from the conversation we had that compared to Dr. Louisa Hannah-Bissell, Mago comes across as a unifier, and that is a strong thing they want to look at as far as the attributes of whoever is going to lead them is concerned. Great. So be it. So let us take it that is how some of the delegates want to
looking
speak.
at it from.
Yes.
But like you mentioned, let's take a look at the past precedent. I mean, how the youth wing of the NDC started way back. Some were not born at all, so they might not know. I mentioned earlier before we went on a break that you hear names like Iti Mensah, who has served as one of the longest youth organizers of the NDC. Now, the team actually put together a brief history about Iti Mensah when he was the youth organizer. So let me help viewers understand vividly what the team actually put together. So if you recall, Iti Mensah served as MP for Ningo Pram Pram 5 consecutive times. So that basically means that 20 years he's been an MP for Ningo Pram Pram. And that's credit to him. I mean, serving your people for 20 years, 5 consecutive times in Parliament is an achievement that you can actually boast of. That tells you the kind of leader he was as a youth leader as well. Now, the details also tells us that he was a mayor of Accra, serving from 1982 to 1992, another 10-year span of his service as a mayor. He was a founding member of the NDC. Now, like I mentioned earlier, he served as the national youth organizer, and that's what I want to understand. I mean, how did it happen? Okay, so serving for so long. Maybe for clarity's sake.
I can understand. Maybe at that time you were not born. Maybe your father was not even going out with your mother. So you were nowhere to be found. That sounds several years ago. Yeah. But Iti Mensah was one of the very active members of the then PNDC under Jerry John Rawlings. Okay. And they were some of those who were identified as very instrumental, very influential, very active, were people who were grassroots persons and were liked by many. So you would notice that being an MP for 20 years until he was beaten by Sam George in the primaries, Iti Mensah was identified as one of the well-known outspoken politicians. Now, E.T. Mensah at the time, the understanding we have was that the former president or the late President Jerry John Rawlings identified some of those caliber of people as men he wanted to work with.
Okay.
And so they were reaching out to the people. And it's no wonder that he was the founding father of 10. You know, 10 is the NDC youth wing with the tertiary institutions across the country. Now, E.T. Mensah wears huge shoes, and at the time many people would have thought that political party activism was not as strong as it should be today. And so these are fine gentlemen who saw the birth of the NDC, who saw how they were going to bring on board young people, many of who have become the leaders of NDC today. So beyond being a youth organizer, they were out there tapping some of the best brains. And I'm not surprised that somebody like Haruna Idrisu, who took over from him, was then NUC's president. And so they identified some of these very young men who were very active, very articulate, very intelligent, and they brought such people into the NDC, and they have been the success story of the NDC from that time. E.T. Mensah, we know, was also a vice chairman of the NDC for many years. He held several ministerial portfolios, other appointments under J.J. Rawlings and Atta Mills, handed over to Haruna Idrisu, as I said. So that is the story. And E.T. Mensah handed over to Haruna Idrisu. But there's a brief history which I know you want to share with us about 10, which was formed as far back as 1994. Walk us through that.
That's actually huge. I mean, it means that 10 has been in existence for so long, so many years now, even 1992. That's huge. And what significant role has 10 played? And that comes back to the main reason that.
Okay, so right. So 10 constitutes the intellectual base of the youth wing of any political party. These are crop of people. There's a crop of people who are selected from various tertiary institutions. Today we have over 142 tertiary institutions in this country. Maybe at the time of E.T. Mensah, we may have had the University of Cape Coast, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, University of Ghana. You want to talk about a few polytechnics. At that time, they were not technical universities, and not every region had a polytechnic at the time. But today we have so many of them. And so political parties want to encourage young people who are the tertiary institutions, who are going to be the next future leaders, to understand what governance is, and they imbibe that spirit of political party activism in them, and then rope them into the leadership of the party. That is the leadership role they let such people play. But I want us to talk about Haruna Idrisu briefly.
Great. So the team actually put together also a brief profile of Haruna Idrisu. And so we spoke with Haruna Idrisu.
Yes.
And he had something to say.
He had a goodwill message. I want us to listen to that, because as a former national youth organizer of the party, his message is key for those who are voting today.
I still recall Bolga and Bolgatanga NDC National Youth Congress, then with late Bismarck Agbamenule of blessed memory, where the party had to take a major decision on who best represented and provided leadership for the youth wing of our party. I have always maintained that the wings that flies the falcon to a success is a youth and women's wing of the NDC. So the success of our great party hinges on the resilience, the fortitude, the attitude, and the sacrifice of its youth and women. When they are there for you, you are there for victory. It's my prayer that we would undertake this exercise of an election without any acrimony and mudslinging, and that the best will emerge, and that the youth and women will represent those who would lead our party to victory. We are almost there, but they will lead us there. So I wish the National Youth and Women Delegates Conference every success, and the National Congress that will elect the national leadership of our party, the chairman, the secretary, the general secretary, the organizer, and their deputies will elect those who would work to assist the flag bearer to win the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. There can only be one irresistible outcome of the 2024 elections, and that is an NDC victory. We simply can't wait, but we must get the best to lead us. I believe that the youth wing in particular must accept the responsibility and challenge of polling station responsibility and coalition responsibility and outcomes reflecting the sovereign will of the Ghanaian people will give the NDC the needed victory. Thank you.
That was the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu.
Yeah. Powerful message, I tell you.
Very powerful.
I mean, it gives some sort of inspiration. It tells you that there is actually hope for the youth. I mean, if indeed you tell us that the future belongs to the youth, then this is the time for the youth to be more empowered. I tap into that. I mean, he said a lot of things. But let me give you a quick background to who Honorable Haruna Idrisu is and how he was a youth leader or youth organizer of the NDC. So he was a former president of the National Union of Ghana Students, that's NUCS, like you mentioned earlier. He served from 2002, he was elected as youth organizer of the NDC. And that tells you also that it's been long. I mean, right after Iti Mensah, then he came in. So just look at the big shoes Iti Mensah might have left behind at that time for, pardon my language, a little Haruna to have stepped in at a tender age around 2002. That tells you that the man has some vast experience when it comes to the youth wing. And also, mind you, he polled 76 out of the 93 votes to beat the party's former Greater Accra youth organizer, Bismarck Agbeme Nule, who had 17 votes then at the Congress held in Pram Pram. So like you said, at that time, it looks as if we didn't have much of the delegates in that contest. So you have just 93 plus 17.
But there's something instructive and why I find the data you pulled on the overwhelming endorsement he had at the time. Haruna Idrisu was a poor village boy from the north. He was into student activism. He became the national president of the National Union of Ghana Students. The election at the time, the Congress at the time, was held at Pram Pram. Those days, they were not separating the elections as we see today.
It was
all of them would converge at one location, and they could spend a day or two, or sometimes into the third day, to finish a Congress. And Pram Pram was very instructive because Iti Mensah comes from Pram Pram, and he was a member of parliament at the time. And Iti Mensah was going to hand over to somebody to be elected. And Haruna Idrisu had an overwhelming endorsement, sweeping almost about 80% of the votes at the time. That told you that a lot of people had confidence in him. He entered parliament as one of the youngest at the time, and he was one of the outspoken, vibrant intellectuals people saw at the time. They gave former President Kufuor a lot of trouble because these were people who understood politics and who knew what they had to fight for. Many times they talk about students, they talk about Get Fund, they talk about a lot of policies that are benefiting Ghanaians today. At the time they were students, they led the student front, the leadership at the time, and they struggled for all these things that Ghanaians are benefiting from at the time. So if you look at Iti Mensah and the achievements that we just spoke about, and Haruna fitting into those shoes and demonstrating that no matter how old or how huge Iti Mensah was at the time, he was capable. That should inform who the delegates should be electing today. Because it is not just about choosing somebody, it is about choosing somebody who has the capacity to mobilize, especially when the NDC is a party in opposition, the capacity to make the party attractive to young people. And the reason why young people should find hope in the NDC and so believe in the leadership that will be leading the NDC into the 2024 elections, which they describe as the last hope for Ghanaians as we speak.
Now, interestingly, this is the same man who stepped down in 2009 when he actually got his first appointment as Minister for Communications under then Professor Atamils. So you can just look at the track record. He was NUC's president. Like you mentioned, you described him to be a village boy who came to school in Accra and all of that, and he became a president of NUC's. Then he got elected to lead a party like the NDC. That tells you, a great history.
So then, those for me, if you are a 10 student today and you have an interest in politics, and you aspire to be a leader of a political party, these are some of the fine people you want to look at, because they are the ones who give you the inspiration you always want to look at, to motivate you to look ahead. But you see, at the time, these were party executives and their party had won an election, and many of them would be appointed as ministers anyway. But the reason why you would notice as the conversation goes on, why this is very interesting, is that Iti Mensah led the party as a youth leader for a long time. Haruna Idrisu led the party as a youth organizer for at least 2 terms. He only handed over for so the seat was virtually declared vacant for other contestants to go in for. Otherwise, maybe he could have been there for as many years as possible, because it still remains one of the very influential people in the NDC, not only because he's a minority leader, but somebody whose persona influences many people in the party. Apart from him and Iti Mensah, all those who have followed, maybe until today that we don't know what will happen, have only led the party as youth organizers for only 1 term.
Well, so just after Haruna Idrisu, then there comes in
Ludwig Vlodge
from the Volta region.
Yes.
So the Volta region, brought on board the first youth organizer.
So he will go on record as the first person from the Volta region who led the NDC. So let's walk it through briefly. So Ludwig Vlodge handed over to CD Abubakar Musa, who was also a 1-term national youth organizer of the NDC, and then he handed over to George Opare-Addo, who who won the election in 2018, and that seals the conversation as far as the history of the NDC youth organizer leadership is concerned. We are concentrating on only the organizers, and then we walk into the women organizers. What do you have?
Well, so you take a look at the women organizers, for instance. I'm going to tell you a brief background to this whole position as well. We have put together the very vibrant women who led the women's wing of the NDC, just like we did for the youth organizers as well. You can mention names like Ama Benyuado, you can mention Frances Esiam, Anita De Soso, and a host of others. But I'm going to give you a brief background of Ama Benyuado. She's no more, but we believe that she's resting peacefully. So, for instance, Ama Benyuado was a former member of Council of State under the John Mahama administration. Now, also, she served as a former minister of state. Ama Benyuado is also a respected gender activist, a women's rights activist, veteran politician, and then had strong political views and spirited firebrand. She actually became popularly known as Chavez during one of her encounters with Kweku Baku Jr. And the unfortunate thing happened on Sunday, September 19th, 2021. But I'm going to ask you the story about Chavez.
Yes, I remember the story
tell us more.
At Peace FM at the time. She was a regular panelist and the usual debate and so on. And there was an altercation, and she earned the name Ekuya Chavez, and it lived with her until her passing. She was one of the respected women political activists in the country. And then Frances Esiam took over from Ama Benyuado.
But one thing you need to also know is that she actually became the first female MP from Gumwa West in 1992 and won 3 terms. So served 1992, 1996, and also 2000.
Right. That's exciting. And that's the history of the NDC. Now, Frances Essiem also led the NDC. She served for only 1 term. Many people remember the name. She was vibrant. She is an outspoken person, full of energy. Frances Essiem was very popular among the NDC grassroots base. See, she resigned after the NDC Congress, I think in Koforidi at the time.
Yeah.
And then I think it was one of those challenges the party had.
Yeah.
And then she went to form the Democratic Freedom Party with Bezidin, Dr. Beda Samuel, and so on and so forth. And then from there we moved on to Anita De Soso, who took over from Frances
I saw
Essiem.
her earlier in the morning, and she still looks very young. I tell you, another vibrant leader of the party brought on board some exuberance and fire into the women's wing of the NDC. Now you take a look at her stats. For instance, she also served only 1 term as a leader of the women's wing of the NDC. She, like I mentioned earlier, very outspoken, influential member of the NDC, and then also had a sterling political career as National Deputy Propaganda Secretary. So at the time, I mean, we were made to understand that they had what now has become the communications officer or director of the NDC. So more or less like the propaganda secretary at that time. And she also served as a deputy national propaganda secretary. But was that enough to say that she did so over the NDC?
No, you see, I'm monitoring a trend, and the trend reflects party delegates who are now becoming more discerning, who are not allowing themselves necessarily to be influenced by anybody because they think we are voting for somebody just for the sake of doing so. You notice that Iti Mensah served for many years, Harun Edrisu, and after the 2, all the rest served only 1 term. Now the history is repeating itself for the women's wing.
Well.
Ama Benyuado was there for a long time. Yeah. Frances Essiem 1 term, Anita De Soso 1 term, and then Hajia Zainab Joyce Mahama also was a women's organizer of the party for 1 term, and she also handed over to Dr. Louisa Hanabisu for 1 term, and as we know, she's also being contested by Margaret Anseh today. So if Margaret Anseh should win, then it means that tangent will be continuing. Now, I may want to speak to it in another way. It is also possible that because the party has expanded the delegates list, now it is difficult for one person to assemble a group and want to let that group agree that we are going to vote en bloc. That appears not to be happening now. So people are allowing delegates to choose based on their strength or their capacity to lead the political party. So that is what I see as unique as far as the NDC is concerned. This is the live coverage of the NDC's women and youth elections here at the University of Cape Coast at the main auditorium, which is at the new site of the University of Cape Coast. So I am having this conversation with Randy. We are giving you some historical background as far as the 2 positions are concerned, and of course we'll be going inside to the main auditorium where my colleague Wisdom Hedejome is standing by. So Wisdom Hedejome will be joining us shortly, and then while we are waiting for Wisdom Hedejome to join us, I just want to walk you through what has gone on so far. We are told that 1,083 delegates will be voting for the youth wing of the party today. The youth wing, we have 2 groups who are contesting. So before I give you that detail, Wisdom Hedejome is standing by to speak to some of the delegates. I'm told Wisdom is just about ready, and so while we are waiting for Wisdom, let's have a brief on this. Walk us through the list of those contesting for the youth organizers, the women organizers, especially who are the deputies. You know, the deputies list, we have not been mentioning them a lot, so people may not be remembering who they are. In case you don't have it, you can go through this. Have you found it?
All right, so yes, most definitely take a look at the women running for the deputy women organizer position. You have the likes of Hajia Alijatu Sulemana, and also Abigail Akwabia Elomensa. But before we continue with the list, I'm going to get to one of the vibrant women leaders who has served this country so well. She served as the former regional minister of the Volta region, Honorable Helen Ntosu. She's joining me pretty shortly so we can have a brief conversation. How vibrant has the women's wing of the NDC become ever since she's gone out of power? Honorable, I'm going to engage you pretty shortly, but before then, again, let me walk through the list of deputy women organizers. Like I mentioned earlier, Hajia Alijatu Sulemana is running. We also have Abigail Akwabia Elomensa also contesting in that position. We have Jesse Adams also contesting in that particular position. And again, Felicia Chifa Tega is also contesting in this particular position. But how does it become? I mean, how does it look like? Is it going to be a retainment or there's going to be a little bit of change? We'll get into that later. But Honorable is joining me on set. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you too?
By God's grace, I'm good.
You look like a 16-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
What's been the secret?
Oh, the secret is the Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit takes center stage. I remember you so well for that. I mean, when you were in office, a couple of visits, you were always talking about the Holy Spirit here and there. But I'm going to ask you quickly, how has the women's wing of the NDC been like?
Yeah, when you are in power, when you are in authority, you see things differently. When you are in opposition, you also see things differently. So when you are in government, where you have the resources for the women to go around organizing women, it's easier than when you are in opposition.
Yeah.
So I know that they've been doing their best, but their best, people do not say it. But some of us, because I hold a constituency, I know how it is when you are in opposition and you don't have resources to be able to organize as people expect you, or people expect of you, or people expect you to do. So that's what's going on. I think they are not doing badly at all.
Have they been able to win the hearts of even the younger generation to imbibe them into the party?
I think partially that has been done, because we have the youth wing.
Yeah.
We have the youth wing, we have the women wing.
Yeah.
So I expect the youth wing, the deputies, we have some of the ladies, I expect them to help the women organizer to organize the young ones to come on board, to be able to help. So
you have held one of the biggest positions in political terrain, regional minister, if I'm right, and if my memory serves me right, I want to believe that you happen to be the first female to lead the Volta region in that capacity. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
How was it like? It should be tedious.
It's not easy, but I tell you that I move by faith, not by sight. Whatever I do, I know that the Holy Spirit helps me to do that. When I was coming as the first female regional minister, I took over 2 weeks. I was reshuffled to the Eastern region, and then 2 years I was there. And don't forget that the 21-year-old conflict of the Akuapins, when I went there, I was able to help solve that. I came to the Volta region. Togo Kwayo there was in the mob for 6 years. I came, I was able to help solve that problem. We're able to bury him. And this Alavanyo, what the role I played, the Konya and Alavanyo conflict. So as a woman, it's not easy, but when you know the God that you serve, in all things that you do, you stand by the strength of God to be able to do it. People thought I could not do it, but I know for a fact, and in my conviction, I know that I did a yeoman's job for the 4 years that I was the regional minister for Eastern.
Great. So I'm having a conversation with Honorable Helen Ntosu, who served as the former regional minister of the Volta region. She's telling us much more about how the women's wing of the party looks like. But the NDC is poised to reclaim power from the MPP in 2024.
Sure.
What does this election mean to the NDC?
This election means a lot because when a country, if you want a country to prosper, to grow, you've got to look at the youth and you've got to look at the women wing. Because you don't forget that women are more than the men in this country. So when more women are developed, when more youth are developed, then you know that a country has a future. But where you're not looking at the youth, you not mind whether they have jobs to do, you are not looking at their development, you are not looking at the development of women, then the country is in trouble. So this election means a lot to us as NDC. We've got to look at competence. We've got to look at people who are hardworking. We've got to look at people who can mobilize, people who can organize to vote for them, so that they will be able to, when we vote for them, then they will be able to go to the grassroots. I'm a grassroots person, I'm a keda. You go to the grassroots, because if you ignore the grassroots, then we will not go anywhere. So we've got to look at people who can really do this. Go to the grassroots, organize the people at the grassroots level, because one cannot, if you're a leader, you cannot do all. Division of labor, but you've got to be a good supervisor to be able to supervise your subordinates, to be able to do what they are supposed to be doing. And then the party will move forward.
I'm going to ask you two questions, and I'm pushing you to the wall.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a retainment or a change for the women's wing of the NDC?
Where there's the need for a change, there should be a change.
What do you think?
Where there's the need for one to be retained, the person should be retained. I, because I'm on air, I cannot say vote for A or vote for B. But within me, I know the person I'm going to vote for. At times it's not about change. At times it's about retaining. At times when it's necessary, you change. So looking at this, I know who I'm going to vote for.
Honorable, finally, before I let you go, so you can join the main auditorium for the process to begin. Yeah. I've spoken to quite a number of bigwigs in the NDC who believe that President John Mahama is the presumptive candidate of the NDC heading into the 2024 elections. What do you think?
For now, I don't think there's any good competitor to compete with JM. I don't think so. We've marketed him, and we've seen how Ghanaians voted for him, and I can assure you that, I can tell you for a fact that we didn't lose the 2020 election. We didn't lose the election. You see, so since we've marketed him, Ghanaians know what he can do. Ghanaians have seen, like people talk about, selling your color TV to buy your, a white color TV. Is what Ghanaians are experiencing. JHAM has worked so hard for this country. We can all attest to the fact that these people have messed the economy up. What JHAM has done, I've been telling people, if Ghanaians had given JHAM 4 years to continue what he did, we wouldn't have been where we are now. Ghana would have moved, because in my constituency, the projects that that I lobbied and were sent to the constituency, these people have come, they stopped all the projects. So if they had were given 4 years to continue, I know that a lot of our projects, our roads would have been tied. I mean, the schools that 6 unit classroom story buildings that they gave us, they are all at standstill. So I think JM is the best option for now.
Honorable, thank you so much for speaking to us, and we wish you the very best of luck. May the best win in today's contest as well.
Whoever wins is a win for the party.
Great.
Thank you very much. God bless you for the good work you're doing.
Thank you too. Thank you too, Honorable. So there you heard Honorable Helen Ntosu, former Volta Regional Minister. So the ambience is charged. The atmosphere is so charged. And I tell you for a fact, delegates are gradually trooping into the main auditorium for the election proper to commence. But if you are just tuning in, this is Wezo TV's live coverage of the 10th NDC Youth and Women Conference 2022 right here at the University of Cape campus. Well, I'm going to engage you for a while. We'll take a look at the whole process so far. Again, today's event, or the entire elections, is divided into two folds or two phases. This is actually the phase one of what is expected as far as the election is concerned. The second phase will come off next week. That is going to be the 17th of December 2022. But that will be held at the Accra Sports Stadium on the 17th, as I mentioned. But today, what we have here is for the National Youth and Women's Conference, which is currently ongoing. Now, let's take a look at what's happening. According to the chairman of the NDC elections, that's Honorable Alex Secretary, he mentioned that we are expecting about some 9,000 delegates, home and external branches. They shall be voting today and also on the 17th. Now, he also mentions that, delegates are expected to cast their ballots today and next week as well. Now, out of that list, we are expecting about 1,086 delegates. They will vote for the youth organizers today. So 1,086 of the delegates will vote today for the youth organizers. What that also means is that you will have the current national youth organizer, who is the incumbent, George Opari Ado, and his two deputies also voting today. So they have their vote and they are part of the list that the list of people who cast their vote. If you come downwards, you have 16 regional youth organizers plus two deputies who also cast their vote. Then 275 constituency youth organizers plus two deputies who also vote in today's elections. Also, the tertiary education institutions network, that is the aim, they will have their president also voting as far as the youth wing is concerned. So we're going to take, I understand that the auditorium is actually charged. A lot of the delegates are in, a lot of the aspirants are in. I'm going to cross over quickly to my colleague, Wisdom, who is in the auditorium, to take it up for us. So Wisdom, if you're ready, please take it for me.
Right, so this is the auditorium. There's some light in the auditorium because the national chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofusampofu, has come and by constitution of the NDC, the chairman is supposed to be this particular conference. So once it's in, it means that very soon, as delegates start arriving, they will be heading towards the main part of the event. But I have with me Marietta Rio Abiaoko, who is a former Attorney General of Ghana. Madam, thank you very much. So today, elect youth and women. What must be the focus of chairman of the NDC, and some other delegates Befia, who is the vice chair of the Congress Planning Committee, is also here. Now, they are holding a very urgent meeting after which the Congress will begin. So what we do, Congress will begin in a short begin. So what we do know is that in a short while, all delegates who have arrived in will be called upon. So there'll be a roll call for all delegates in the region. Then will be coming here, and then Congress will begin. So what we are seeking to do now is to give you a feel of the auditorium where the Congress will be held. And so individuals have started coming in. You can see that a number of them now, the MCs are calling for order so that all other individuals will come in, so the proceedings will start. It has appeared to be a very, very short proceeding, and so if everything should go as planned, hopefully before dusk we'll be out of here. But for now, this is what you are witnessing is the 10th annual delegate conference of the NDC, who are electing women organizers and youth organizers of their party. Now 18 people have put themselves on the line for this particular congress. So I'll go back to my colleague Eric, who will continue the conversation from here. These are professionals of the NDC. They call themselves the Pro Forum. And so I have the former boss of GPHA, who is Director of Operations for the Professional Forum, Mr. Namo. So, very well, from Pro Forum's perspective, what are your calls today?
Yeah, well, for Pro Forum, we are here today to observe, to monitor, and to see how the whole election will take place for both the youth and the women. We believe that there's a need for us to mobilize both the younger ones as well as the ladies for the battle ahead of us. I mean, we have gone through the mail, and the next generation is important and necessary for what is ahead of us, especially come 2025. So we are here to ensure, to see that there's peace, to support whatever activities are taking place, and until the best winner comes out of this whole exercise. That come 2025, we are ready for battle.
What should take the best winner out of this contest?
Well, we expect the best winner to be those that the people believe have the capacity, that the people know what is happening on the ground, that the people understand and appreciate that whatever responsibilities they are being called to, and that they can contribute their quota, whatever it is, that they are prepared to share their blood for Ghana, that they understand we are talking of Ghana and not the individual, that we are not talking of the people like NPP who are thinking more about their pocket. They come in and think more and fair for most Ghana, and that's the sort of leadership we expect.
Now, I'm sure before you came into the auditorium, you spent a minute or two to look at the banners that are posted around.
Yes.
You could see that there's a central message: leadership of boldness, leadership of courage, and all of that.
Yes.
From where you sit, does it suggest that this current leadership, they don't have that level of boldness?
Well, I mean, the issue of boldness, the issue of whatever we are putting out there, the current leadership is a transition. Okay, you transition from one level to another. That transition includes experience, that you'll be able to carry your own experience the next. That you would have seen that your past, there might have been some setbacks, challenges, that you not think that you can move anything further. And of course, the boldness is based on what you have experienced in the past and how you are going to confront the future. Of course, you have to be bold to be able to move from a very small minority to a larger minority. Okay, you have to be bold to make sure that we can control the current administration. We need to be bold, and that I believe that all of our candidates have that capacity. But the thing is that we have to select only a few of them, and that's why we are here.
So Richard Anamo is a former boss of GPHA and is a director of operations for Forum. They are observing today's proceedings, and I'm sure they have a very particular interest because of their position. We're still giving you live coverage. So this is the big auditorium. As you can see, individuals, that's delegates arriving in. Very soon they'll be taken through the processes which will usher us into this particular gathering today.
Yes, please, if you are standing, find a place and sit. We have the protocol in green t-shirts standing. And so apart from those in green t-shirts, please, all of you should be seated. So apart from the protocol team. The first female communication officer of Central Region, Gabriela Tete, is in the house.
So many thanks for still staying with us live here on Wezo TV. Well, let me get to speak to some of the vibrant women of the NDC. Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu Ajari is a former Minister of Tourism and also serves as the Member of Parliament for Techimano. She's here. I'm going to find a brief, I'm going to have a brief conversation with her. Honorable, thank you so much for joining us on Wezo TV. I'm going to ask you first, what does this election mean to you?
This election is very important to me and to the NDC generally, because this is the election that is going to culminate into the election or endorsement of Excellency John Dramani Mahama as our flag bearer and eventually as the President of the Republic of Ghana come 7 December 2024. So I entreat all the delegates to listen to the campaign messages that the various aspirants have given them and go for the best. And we pray to God that He also directs us to elect the people who will make the election of Excellency John Dramani Mahama 2024, that's the ultimate, painless. And so I hope that this election will bring us that result.
Is it going to be a retainment or a change for the women's wing?
What I know is that the delegates are here and they are going to do what the people want.
Finally, before I let you go, you are an MP. I've asked, a couple of MPs this same question. Is President John Mahama the presumptive candidate for the NDC ahead of the 2024 elections?
You have answered the question in your answer.
I asked.
You have answered.
Is he?
The obvious choice. I mean, this 2024 election, Excellency John Dramani Mahama is the unopposed candidate of the NDC. There is nobody challenging him. And so, I mean, that one, I don't want anybody to even belabor the point. He's the guy, he's the man of the moment, and he is going to take the seat for the NDC and eventually help Ghana come out of this economic frustration that we are all in.
Honorable, thank you so much for speaking to us. Well, I wish you well. So there you had Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu Ajari, She's a former Minister of Tourism and also represents the people of Techima North. Well, so we'll try as much as possible to get more of the people to speak to. But let me cross over to Senior Eric Ahianyo, who also engaged a few other people. Senior Eric, if you can hear me, take it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. And I'm here with Baba Sadiq. And you can hear from the background that the Congress grounds is gradually changing and they are singing NDC related patriotic songs. I'm here with Baba Sadiq. Baba, first of all, how do you feel as somebody who sympathizes with the NDC and for the party to be choosing a youth leader, and you are one of the vibrant youth activists in this country today?
Well, I'm excited with the enthusiasm we experience. I'm excited to see the passion and the commitment of the rank and file of the party, and particularly the young people in the party. And so obviously when you come to Congress such as this and you see the enthusiasm, it signals that the party is ready and the party can't really wait to wrestle power from our opponents currently. And so for me, I'm excited to see that the enthusiasm and the energy is there.
A lot of people have raised concern about challenges facing the youth in this country today. For you, as somebody who is seen as a motivator, an inspirer, somebody who is a leader of another group of young people who have their own talents and you are shaping, what would you advise briefly in 1 minute as an advice to the delegates as they choose?
Well, for the delegates, the advice is simple. Look out for a leader that can be that single biggest rallying point for young people. Look out for the leader that has got better plans that will help structure and create a lot of opportunities for young people when we come into power, even before we come into power. Look out for a leader that has the energy and will be visible in terms of how to organize and rally the youth base of the party to help us win power. Because as it stands now, and everybody knows it, that only party that has a better plan for young people in this country is the NDC. The NDC has done it before in terms of creating far-reaching and positive policies for young people. The NDC in our 2020 manifesto and going forward, we've indicated that we've got the ideas. We can be very innovative to ensure that we create jobs and opportunities for young people to create sustainable livelihoods for themselves. So for the young people that are going to vote, please look out for the person that can be that single biggest rallying point in terms of harmonizing all our policies and ensuring that young people in the party and in Ghana will be better off when we come.
Okay, thank you very much, Baba Sadiq. So Randy is standing by. I've seen that lawyer Eduji Tamaklo is with Randy, and so Randy will be having a chat with him. And so Randy, if you are ready, take over from me and then have a chat with Eduji Tamaklo. So Randy, take over from Eduji Tamaklo.
All right, so many thanks to you, Senior Eric Ahianyo, for that interview as well. But let's get more legally into this whole conversation, because as you know, we heard about some injunctions being placed on some constituencies and barring them from voting. Joining me on set is lawyer Godwin Eduji Tamaklo. First of all, let me say congratulations to him for winning that big victory for the NDC. How does it feel?
Very well, and I appreciate everything. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. You should be a happy man.
I'll be coming to the studio,
so we can talk more about that as well. But first of all, let me take it from the issue of the injunction that has been placed on some constituencies. Wouldn't that have an effect on the election?
Not at all. Not at all. Indeed, under the NDC constitution, you do not need 275 constituencies in order to have Congress. That's not what the NDC constitution.
What does it say?
What the NDC constitution requires is a certain threshold. And looking at the numbers from those constituencies affected, it cannot affect the integrity and the legality of conference or Congress that is supposed to take place today.
But what happens if the substantive case is heard and the court grants that these people are eligible to vote?
First of all, you do not need the the entire numbers. It is not done. It is not. It is not. You don't need 275 constituencies in order to have a legally binding Congress. The NDC constitution is clear. Once you can get 2/3 of the constituencies, the law allows you to have Congress. And so, you cannot say that because there are issues with, say, 2 or 3 constituencies, we are unable to have our Congress. No, that is not the law.
We have two keen competition happening or contests happening today, the youth wing and also the women's wing of the NDC. Is it going to be a retainment or a change?
The dissenting delegates of our great party are going to elect a women organizer that will prosecute the 2024 campaign with H.E. John Dramani Mahama. The dissenting youth of this party are going to elect a national youth organizer who, together with John Dramani Mahama, will work to prosecute the 2024 campaign for a one-touch resounding victory. And that is what will happen today.
Council, I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Do enjoy the Congress as well. Well, so there you heard him, Council Godwin Eduji Tameglo, who is a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC's legal team. Well, if you are just tuning, you are still live on Wezo TV as well as TV XYZ, and this is the live telecast of the NDC's 10th annual delegate conference happening here at the University of Cape Coast Auditorium. And of course, the delegates are gradually dropping into the main auditorium. This program was supposed to have started somewhere around 10 a.m. but for whatever reasons why this program has delayed, we are yet to find out. But of course, with the program lineup, the time threshold or the 5 p.m. time threshold still exists. I'm going to cross over to my senior colleague Eric, who also has a few people to speak to. Senior Eric, if you can hear me, take it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. So I'm here with one of the deputy youth organizer aspirants with me, Jude. Jude, first of all, how is it like feeling that today people have to decide on you?
Well, thank you very much. It is the deputy national youth organizer aspirant. Well, it's not an easy feeling because after the long weeks and months of going around the country, engaging delegates and speaking to them, giving them a word, they also assure you that we're going to be supporting you. Today is the day of reckoning. And obviously, you don't know what's in the minds of them. The only way you can know is to, and when they are done casting their vote and the ballot is counted, that's the only way you can know what the delegates.
So what has been your campaign message?
Well, I've been giving hope to the delegates. I've been telling them what I'm also going to contribute for ensure that we win power 2024. And then after the power, as a deputy national youth organizer, whatever is in the victory for us as a youth, I will also ensure we have our share of it so that today the party will be seen rewarding the youth of the party and will make the NDC more attractive to the youth and the people of Ghana.
Now, we have a lot of challenges as a people. The youth of this country have high expectations. The NDC has been speaking to plans they have, and they have made reference to the track record of things they have done before. Now, as a youth organizer, one of the things you have to do to support your leader with the team is how to mobilize support from the youth base of the party beyond Tain and the bigger picture, i.e. Ghana as a whole. How do you want to help to bring people on board?
I'm happy you said that the NDC has said a lot of things they want to do and they've started their achievements. First of all, we need also to let the youth of this country understand that the NDC are what it takes to work on their welfare. Their welfare is always at the center of the NDC agenda. We are working closely to get them to believe that the NDC can do something for them. Beyond their belief, there's an actualization. So with the NDC, I'm going to encourage them that look at our policies. This is what I've done in ABCD, and this is what we intend doing. Creating jobs is one of the key issues that are affecting the youth of this country. And the NDC believes in creating business people, creating opportunities for people to also look at and invest and grab it. They are not ready to create it for just a few, but open up the space for anybody who is interested to get it done for us.
Okay, thank you very much. Baba Jamal is here. Baba Jamal is one of the organizers of this particular event. Baba, first of all, it's almost 12:30. Can you tell us what is the plan ahead?
We, as announced just now, we are going to start around 12:30 in the morning because people couldn't come as we expected. Some are going to came this morning, so they are all coming around. We hope that by 12:30 we should be able to start.
Okay, so we have an idea about how the program will look like, but for those who are watching Wizard TV now, watching TV exercises, get us a brief on how the opening session will look like.
We're going to have two sessions, the opening session and the voting process. The opening session is going to be very short. Very few people will speak. But of course, the National Youth Organizer, the National Women Organizer, because it's a two conference that we are combining. So they have to say we'll speak, and then some special guests that will come around will speak. We are going to have about 3 or 4 speeches. Then we close it, then the Electoral Commission take over, and then we have the election.
Okay, I've seen the national chairman here. I understand some other high-profile personalities are likely to come. Do we know who is likely to join us here?
I expect everybody here because those who are contesting are also here to do their campaign, because all the delegates in this conference are also delegates in the national conference. So I expect the aspirants. I've seen some few around. The national chairman, I have seen him. Maybe the general secretary, I will see him. And then the chairman of the National Planning Committee, who is Alex Ogospia, is also around. And then other personalities. So we are sure by the time 12:30 we should be able to start the program.
Thank you very much. Baba Jamal is a former Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Randy is standing by to continue the conversation. So I want to hand over to Randy to continue the conversation.
All right, so thank you so much, Senior Eric, for that. But joining me on set is a man who is seeking re-election as far as the Deputy National Organizer role is concerned. Honorable Kobe Ballon is here. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Afternoon.
We'll talk about your contest, which comes up next week anyway. But first of all, what does this particular election, today's event, mean to you?
Oh, this is just like a courtesy raiser to the main Congress. It's like when you have a football match and the juvenile side has to play 15 minutes before the main game. That is what is happening here. But it's a very important exercise that plays a remarkable role in our politics of the NDC.
Don't you see these two contests, I mean, being keenly contested for? The youth wing as well as the women's wing?
Yes, it is because when it comes to the main contenders, we have only 2 aspirants going for the youth organizers, and then you have two for the women for the main positions. That is why it is very keenly contested for. But when you look at the deputy side, you see that there are a lot of aspirants in the deputy side, so that one is a little bit calmer.
Well, let's talk about the youth wing, I mean the youth organizers. The big question is, how will you describe or define the about to be dissolved youth wing, I mean the leader? What I'm asking is that, how will you describe the tenure of George Opari?
You know, he's a colleague that I've worked with for 4 years. He's done his part. I may not be the right person to judge him as to whether he has performed or he has not performed.
Does that not matter to you as a member of the NDC and a leader?
Oh yes, the progress of the party matters to me, because without progress, we may not be able to win the next upcoming elections. We all wish well for this party, and we want to see things happen much better than we have done, and that is what all party members are yearning for. But as to whether he has performed, he has not performed, I would not be the right judge. In any case, I'm not the delegate to this conference, so the delegate will judge him as to whether he has performed or he has not performed.
Do you want a retainment or a change?
That one, I will not comment about it. I prefer not to comment about it.
How vibrant has the women's wing been all these years?
Our wing, it depends on the leadership style of who is in charge of the women's wing. Everyone and his or her style. Since my start as a politician, I saw Francis Essiem as the national women organizer. I witnessed Auntie Ama Benuado's tenure. I witnessed Madame Anita Disoso's tenure. I witnessed Hajia Zainabu's tenure, and I've witnessed Dr. Hanabisu's tenure. And I think that all of them have done well for the forward march.
Your contest comes next week. What are your expectations? Your contest comes next week. Exactly 1 week. What are your expectations?
All what I expect is to make sure that I'm elected as one of the deputy of our party. And I've worked tirelessly for my re-elections. I can tell you in all sincerity that out of the 276 constituencies, I have visited each and every 142 constituency. And if what they are telling me is anything to go by, I'll win massively next week Saturday on the 7th.
Thank you so much. Great. So there you had the deputy national organizer of the NDC, Honorable Kobe Ballon, speaking to us. But of course, I'll cross over quickly to Senior Eric Anyano to also engage a few other people.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you are live on TVXYZ, you are live on Wezo TV. We are bringing you the live coverage of the ongoing National Youth and Women Conference. I'm here with one of the delegates. You are from which chapter?
Umar. And my name is Umar Mahmoud, aka Dennis, the vice chairman of Germany chapter.
So he is the chairman of the Germany chapter. So when did you arrive in this country for the exercise?
I arrived this morning, and straight from the airport, I have to give my support here.
And you spent so much dollars flying all the way to Ghana to come and then support the elections. It looks like you find it very critical, very important for you. Why?
Because we have to rescue Ghana. That's one. And then second, we have to make sure that we mobilize the people towards election 2024 and we chase the elephants to where they belong, which is the bush.
Now for somebody who lives in Germany, and when you hear things happening back home, especially the desperation among the youth, our governance today and so on, what goes through the thought of your colleagues in Germany when you think about Ghana?
When we think about Ghana, we are blessed at least be able to immigrate to Germany, and we see the life in Germany. We also aspire to make sure that Ghana one day, if not to even reach the level of Germany, try our best to make sure that the masses, the problems, the suffering is eliminated. You understand me? And anything affecting Ghana, anything that happens in Ghana, it affects us directly, because you can be one person, but you have a lot dependent on you. So whatever happens in Ghana, it directly affects us. So that's why we have to every effort make sure that victory is attained come this election 2024.
Thank you very much, and we are grateful speaking to you. And so I've spoken to a delegate who came from Germany, so I'm done with you, so you can go say Germany, who is a delegate who has just come here to partake in this exercise. We are currently at the University of Cape Coast. We are bringing you a live coverage of the ongoing NDC's National Youth and Women's Conference. According to the program, which has delayed slightly, in the next few minutes it will officially begin. We are told that when the process begins, a few people will make their statements, which I would describe as goodwill messages. It will come from the national chairman, it will come from the general secretary of the party. Don't forget, the two of them are contesting for the national chairmanship of the party. And a while ago, you heard the master of ceremonies trying to whip up interest, enthusiasm, ginger the atmosphere here by mentioning the name of the chairman and you hear at the background the response, which tells you that the atmosphere is very peaceful. There's no acrimony. And then he has also said that as soon as the General Secretary of the party, General Johnson Asedun Ketia, arrives, he'll be given the same attention, the same appreciation for the role he has also played in the development of the party, and they would look at how the party will respond. Now, at the end of the day, whatever is happening here is only a reflection of a party that is very motivated, has gone through a long process from the branch elections to the constituency elections to the regional elections, and don't forget, it appeared as if all these processes had delayed. But one thing the party did, which was very instructive, was that they were looking at the process of recompiling their voters register to be sure that there is no infiltration or people who don't really belong to the party find their names in the register, maybe to vote for the wrong people to lead the party, or wrong people they can manipulate. And so that process has been over, and then the last two legs of the NDC's process of electing people to lead them for the 2024 elections is starting today. Today, before we leave here, they would have known who is the National Youth Organizer, National Women Organizer, those who are going to be elected as the deputies. 10 people are vying for the deputy national organizer position of the party. I spoke to one of them a while ago. We'll be looking for some of the candidates. And so Randy is standing by to speak to another person. And you can hear from the background, this is one of the favorite songs of the NDC, which was very loud in the 2020 elections. Obviously, opinion polls suggest that John Dramani Mahama will obviously be elected as the candidate for the NDC. So many people here, apart from the executive they are choosing, the statement on their lips will be John Mahama, John Mahama, John Mahama, and that is what is lifting the flavor here, and everybody is beaming with smiles. Randy is standing by, and Randy will take over from here.
Thank you so much, Senior Eric. And then let's get to talk to more other aspirants as well. Well, some of them are not really in today's contest, but of course, it is proper that they are here to witness what sadly it will look like on the 17th of December 2022 at the Accra Sports Stadium. One of them joining me is Mustafa Akmande, who is vying for that big position when it comes to the administration of the NDC, the Deputy General Secretary position, and he's in the contest with other big names as well. Honorable, thank you so much for joining us on Wayside TV. How is it going for you so far?
So far,
let me hold it for you.
It's going well by the grace of God. We have been touring the country, going constituency by constituency. I am left with 2 regions, and I have toured the whole country with a good message that we do not have to go to 2024 with a try and error. It must be an all-inclusive, all-oriented, all-organized approach to ensure that the NDC take power at all costs, and that we need a blend of characters, we need a blend of people, we need to take integrity into consideration, we need to take loyalty. It will be an announcement of whether or not the NDC wants to come to 2024, and I believe that even though Sir John said fear delegates, these delegates are not looking for money. These delegates are not the ones who know vote on issues. These delegates will look for the people who will represent them. I believe that my character and my experience and my expertise will put forth the NDC under the road of radicalism, under the revival of the revolutionary spirit, under loyalty and an all-purpose oriented approach of oppression, to ensure that the young people of NDC who are prepared and waiting for support for us to win victory are coming on board.
I'm going to ask you the last question quickly. It means that today's event is more or less like a getting razor to what happened on the 17th, because Kobe Ballon mentioned similar things. To you, what does it mean?
What it means is that we are just finishing one part of the Congress. I do not think that we have a bearing on the main Congress. This is Youth and Women Congress. The youth and the women know who they want to represent them. The main Congress, the people know who are hardworking. They know those who can do the job. They will not put relationships on board. They will put expertise and competency on board.
Thank you so much. So just behind me, you can see the lady who is contesting for the women's organizer position. Quickly, I'm going to get her so she can talk to us before we get to Senior Eric. You look so cheerful.
Why not?
How are you doing?
I'm good.
How do you feel?
This is NDC. No matter what, NDC will win today. So I have to feel good.
What does this contest mean to you? Most especially when you are coming up against the incumbent.
I have already done what is due of me. I have already served the party and I'll keep serving the party. This is just an event. The work still day ground.
What are you bringing on board to the NDC if indeed you get a nod?
A mark of reawakening of the women's wing.
I want to find out, how do you describe the current tenure?
Oh,
what does that mean?
Someone can start up to a level, another should continue to another level. One day, someone will also continue from there.
How will you take it at the end of the day?
It's NDC's victory. Every victory is for the NDC.
Are you in high spirits?
This is me. I'm always cheerful. That is me.
Sir John says fear delegates.
It's not about delegates. This is me. It is NDC at the end of the day. As I said.
Grateful. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I wish you the very best of luck. Anyway, so there you heard her, Margaret Anseh, who is also contesting the national women's position of the NDC. Well, of course, we would have to cross over quickly to Senior Eric Ahianyo. So he also engages the Central Regional Chairman of the NDC. Senior Eric, take it from me.
Okay, thank you very much, Randy. So you just saw Randy speak to one of the women national organizer candidates, Margaret Anseh Mago. I am with the Central Regional Chairman of the party. We are in your region. You are hosting this event, and so far so good. It looks like it's going to be successful. How has it been as far as preparation is concerned? How do you feel today waiting for NDC to descend to University of Cape Coast?
Thank you very much. We are happy to host this event. You know, our regional elections were held a month ago, and this is why they were difficult as new executives. You know, my executives are mostly new. About 95% of them are new. So when this Congress was slated for Cape Coast, because all of us were thinking of how to execute it. But if you look at the elections that we had in Central Region, we chose competent people, very competent, and have a strong team. So this formidable team linked with the National Planning Committee, and we formed a local organizing committee here, and they collaborated. And if you could see today, everything is on course, procedures are followed, security is tight, protocols are, everything is working to perfection, and we can pride ourselves that at least as new executives we've done our best.
Now, so what would you share with delegates, to party supporters who are watching you in Ghana, abroad on Wezo TV, TVXYZ? Many people are excited. They are closely monitoring what we are showing live across the length and breadth of the country and elsewhere. What would you share with them?
What I will tell the masses, that the time has come. That leadership of this country must change. We know the direction the MPP is taking this country to. And today, the youth and the women of this country are voicing out by voting out people who are incompetent and bringing in competent people to steer the affairs of the youth front and the women's front. So, this will send a strong signal. Looking at the enthusiasm and the spirit here, you could really see that people are ready and hungry for power. And I want to tell the masses that we will not disappoint them. So far as we have vowed to make sure that the country returns to normals, we will do everything possible within our means. And we need their support out there. They should pray for us. And I know this program will also end successfully. At the end of the day, those competing are all competent, and whoever is elected, the region is ready to work with the youth front and the women front, so that the objective of winning 2024 elections becomes a reality.
Now, you are Professor
I'm Professor Kofi Sis.
Professor Kofi Asiedu. Now, I am deliberately raising this because you come across as one of the many intellectuals we have in this country. The education sector has come with its own crisis that people are crying about, and for you as a regional chairman of a party, and of course many people will say, well, maybe you are just about a few of such people with that level of education who are occupying such positions. What motivated you to compete for this position?
Yeah, what I believe is that if you don't participate in democracy or democratic process, excuse my language, the foolish ones will select a president for you. So now the academia are risen. Those in the service sector, every sector is rising now. And it's about time we have to all let people know that you will not sit down idle to see this country becoming ungovernable. Things are simply out of way. Look at our education sector, as you said. Nobody is saying the free education is not good. But the way and manner is being executed is not achieving its purpose. If you write exams and you get 60%, then it means the program is successful. No, we don't look at the ingredients that goes into it. Somebody can get 60%. At the end of the day, you come out as half-baked graduate because the initial preparation that he had was not enough. So some area of study can come in the exams where you or she will capitalize and pass on it. But you're talking about the holistic education. The holistic education is lacking, and if care is not taken, the next 10 years we're facing an educational crisis. But from the basic level up to tertiary, it's in crisis. Now it's surprising that if you reach JSS3 and you don't go to government school, you'll not be placed in a good senior high school. What policy is that? And you say you're going to feed students at the SHS level. That's a wonderful idea. And parents are ready to support you to succeed because it's a wonderful idea. But then you force yourself to give the children any food anyhow. In fact, it's affecting the well-being and the health of our children in senior high schools. Sometimes you have to eat tomra in the morning, tomra in the afternoon, tomra in the evening. Nobody is forcing you to feed them. After all, education in this country, in the senior high school level, was free because we're not paying tuition.
All right. So let's be wrapping up. So that's Professor Kofi Asiedu. He's the Central Regional Chairman of the NDC. I'm so grateful for the conversation. The program is about starting officially. Randy is standing by with Osman Ayariga, one of the deputy national youth organizer position. So Randy is standing by.
All right, so thank you so much, Senior Eric and Yanyo. And of course, we are just tuning in. You are live on Wazor TV and TVXYZ. This is the live telecast of the 10th Annual Delegate Conference of the NDC happening right here at the University of Cape Coast Auditorium. So joining me on set is a man who is aspiring to become the next Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Osman Ayariga. Good afternoon, Honorable. Thank you so much for joining us on set.
Good afternoon to you, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm great. How do you feel currently?
I feel excited because this is the end of a very tedious campaign. I've been campaigning for 2 years continuously.
2 years?
Yes, I've been campaigning.
Started too early?
I started early, but unfortunately for me, Nana Akufo-Addo made the campaign extremely expensive with the increase of fuel prices and the increase of commodities. It made it very difficult for you to even move from one point to the other. But we still tried because I'm here to organize the youth of the NDC and the youth of Ghana to oust this current MPP administration that is not interested in the welfare of the Ghanaian youth.
You're coming up against some other 9 people. What does that mean to you? How formidable is your team? What message are you bringing on board?
Well, I have put together a very formidable message. a message of hope, a message of courage, a message of enthusiasm, a message of energizing the youth of the NDC. We can be 20, we can be 30, but once you stand out with a good message, you reach out to all your delegates, you sell your message, and they believe in what you are saying. They'll pick you one out of the many, because the same Bible says many are called, but few are chosen.
Perhaps you might be stepping into a bigger shoe that has been worn by Ede Magbana. How does that feel, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I don't see it to be a bigger shoe. I just see it to be a shoe that I must wear, and I'll wear the shoe and walk in the shoe very well.
Well, the issue about fear delegates lingers on any time there is an election. You have toured the 275 constituencies, if I'm right, like you mentioned. How sure are you that you come out victorious?
Let me state it out there. The statement fear delegates was made by the late Sir John, and he was referring to MPP delegates. Under the NDC delegates, we have very honest delegates. We have delegates of courage who can look you in the face and tell you we will not vote for you, and who can look you in the face and tell you that we will vote for you. Don't fear the NDC delegates. Believe in the NDC delegates because they are very honest. So I do not say fear NDC delegates. I say I believe in the honesty, integrity, and the charisma and the principles of the NDC delegates.
Let me push you a little bit further. Who do you think you can work with as a substantive?
In as much as I'm at liberty to have
There are two names.
In as much as I'm at liberty to have a preference as to who could become, but I believe that if your mother or your wife is pregnant, whether you deliver a boy or girl, you don't have an option, but you have to take the child. So whether it goes to Broja or it goes to Pablo, I would work with any of them to the interest of the NDC.
How about the women's wing?
Well, the women's wing, I believe the women are very discerning, they are principled, they are honest, and they will listen to the various analysis, they will listen to the various promises and analyze them, have a comprehensive analysis of them and decide. And I'm sure at the end of the day, and the most interesting thing about this NDC race is that from the chairmanship all the way to the youth organizer, everyone and anyone contesting is very competent. So irrespective of who emerges as the winner, the NDC has won because we all are very competent to deliver the interests of the NDC.
I wish you very well, and I believe I can speak to you after the election.
Absolutely, my brother. You will be interviewing me as the next Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC.
Thank you. I wish you very well. So there you heard one of the aspirants, Osman Ayariga, who is vying for the Deputy National Youth Organizer slot. Well, he's coming up against some other 9 people, and he believes that yes, it is his time to be elected as the next Deputy Youth Organizer of the NDC. But of course, I'll tell you much more about this particular election, and I'll give you some view statistics as to what you need to know with regards to this particular election. Well, so let's get more into the conversation with some other people. So I understand Eric is very much ready now. Let me quickly cross over to Eric before I engage my next guest. Eric, if you're ready,
yes,
let's get you.
Randy. Yes, Randy, thank you very much. I've seen that you are standing with one of the supporters of the candidates. But I'm here with the Director of Administration of the NDC. Sir, you are welcome. This is Wezo TV, and of course, we are also live on TV XYZ. Now, for somebody like you, a respected elderly man who belongs to one of the biggest political parties in this country, observing the young men and women in the party choose their leaders, what kind of feeling are you experiencing as you observe, and of course if you're a candidate you may vote?
Well, the first one is the feeling of nostalgia. I cast my mind back to 1982 when I was a parliamentary candidate, a young man seeking office for the first time. And, so when I see things like that, my mind goes back to 1982 when I had to contest for election. That's the first feeling. The second one is that it's a mixed feeling. The second one is that I feel saddened that this time around, the youth don't seem to accord the elders the respect that we gave to our elders at that time. When the older people come and say, oh, this one, stop it, we will deal with it. Right. You stop it and you listen to them and you are sure that they will deal with it.
Okay, so unfortunately, the program is just about starting. and so we are joining the feed. But we'll definitely come to you before we close. So we are grateful. So Director of Administration of the NDC, the program is just about starting, and therefore we are going there to follow proceedings.
Thank you very much.
We're still waiting for.
Thank you so much. So the program, according to the MC, she has just announced that the program is about to start. So we'll have to wrap up this segment as well. But joining me on set is Ebenezer Edu. He is a coordinator of the Pablo team, and he believes that they are in for a strong contest today. He's popularly known as the engineer. Well, he says they have toured every part of the country, and he believes that they will come out victorious. How sure are you?
We are the incumbents, and at the end of the day, we've worked. The youth organizers knows we've worked, and we have run a clean campaign based on achievement of the youth wing we took 4 years ago. That is what we've done, and we've done a green book for it. Everything that Pablo has done within the last 4 years is in the green book, and the youth organizers themselves, from Chakwa to Nihini to everywhere, everybody is telling you that Pablo took a youth wing that was in coma, and now we build a youth wing to a certain level, and we must continue.
What are expectations quickly, finally, because the program has started?
Well, we are praying that God will grant us that victory, and we know that we are going to get the endorsement today. You see, throughout the campaign, the guys were telling us, Pablo, it is an endorsement, it is not an election. And we know that we'll get an endorsement today.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. I wish you the very best of luck and may the best win out of this particular contest. So if you can hear from the background, the main or the official opening ceremony has started, and we'll soon be crossing over to the main podium for the event to start. But remember to stay tuned live on Wezo TV as well as TV XYZ as we give you all the gist, as we give you all the rundowns with regards to the 10th annual delegate conference of the National Democratic Congress happening live here at the University of Cape Coast Auditorium. Stay with us on Wezo TV.
Held in 1992, some 30 years ago, under the distinguished chairmanship of Alhaji Isifu Ali of blessed memory. It is significant to note that the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the party, the 10th National Youth and Women's Conference is taking place in Cape Coast. It is also equally worthy to note that the choice of Cape Coast as the venue for the program is the same venue for the 2016 launch of the party's national campaign. Let me also remind comrades that the Central Region was a choice of the running mates for the 2020 elections. That's our mother, Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajiman. Significantly to say that Central Region has always been a region of excellence and great exploits, and that has produced the 4th president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Fifi Atta Mills of blessed memory. We feel exceedingly fulfilled that Central Region has the ultimate choice for this important function and the annals of the National Democratic Congress. It is our prayer that we will witness a successful National Youth and Women's Conference. And once again, we welcome you all to Cape Coast. We share our belief in the choice of the team rallying for victory 2024, Ghana's hope, and we believe that it is the best team for the occasion. I thank you, and may God bless you all. Thank you.
My secretary likes pepper so much, he carried all my peppers away. Can we please give him another round of applause? Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure to introduce this new individual to you. For those of us in the Central Region, he needs no introduction. But for the rest of you, please, with a round warm of applause, let's welcome the chairman of the Central Region NDC, Professor Richard Asiedu.
Arise for Ghana, a patron of the land, for weather and secure future, development our goal, from vision to vision, the NDC shall lead, Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity.
Good afternoon, fellow Akatamansons. The National Chairman, National Executives present, the Chairman of the National Planning Committee and members, the Chairman of the Local Planning Committee and members, former Ministers of State and other appointees present, former Members of Parliament present, regional and constituency executives from the 16 regions present, aspirants, the media, all protocols observed. On behalf of the leadership and membership of the party, and indeed, on behalf of the people of Central Region, I'm happy to welcome you to the Central Region, the citadel of education and politics in Ghana. It is not a novelty to remind this gathering that the umbilical cord of formal education was cut in this region. And this region has continued to pioneer educational innovation and excellence up until today. The pioneering role of Salt Pond as the epicenter of party politics in the then Gold Coast cannot be lost on the people of Ghana and the National Democratic Congress. Today we have gathered in the region to reignite the passion for political service, which has disappeared in these dark days of corruption and cronyism in government. The choice of the team Rallying for Victory 2024, together with the Cape Coast hosting this important event, is clearly a wonderful coincidence that is a harbinger for the victory that surely awaits us coming 2024. You are invited to enjoy the beautiful sights and sounds of a peaceful region that celebrates diversity and progress. To every aspirant here, we wish you well. To every delegate, enjoy your stay. To every guest, have a wonderful time. Yemobia Akwaba. Long live the youth and women's wing. Long live the NDC. God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Arise for Ghana, a patron of the from vision to vision, the NDC shall lead. Able Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to vision.
Indeed, Yamawonyina Akwaba. Moving on, I'd like to call the regional organizer to conduct the roll call of the regions. Chief Mike Derry. In the absence of Chief Mike Derry, his deputy, Abakan. Oh, hold on. Chief Mike Derry is coming.
Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
Can we please welcome him with a round of applause? We can do it better than this.
Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
Thank you very much. My able regional communications officer. Can we have Upper West region here? Upper West region, that's my home region. Newana be Nebawasere. Upper West. Nebawasere. So let's welcome Upper East region. Are they here? Thank you, Chairman. Let's welcome Savannah region. Savannah region, are you here? Okay. Let's welcome Northeast region. Wow. Northeast, you are most welcome. Let's welcome Northern region. Northern region, are you here? Thank you, most welcome. Let's go to Bono East. Bono East region. All right, thank you, Madam MP. Let's go to Ahafo region. All right, thank you. Almighty Ashanti region, are you here? Ashanti, you are most welcome. Let's go to Eastern region. Eastern region, you are most welcome. Let's come down to OT region. OT region, most welcome, Madam Helen. Volta region, our able stronghold. Volta region, are you here? All right, thank you. Let's come to Greater Accra region. Greater Accra. Wow, wonderful. I can feel your presence around. Let's go to Western North. Chairman, you are most welcome. Western region, Nana Toku, I know you are here. Thank you, Chairman. Now, we are going to the host region. Central region, are you here? Let me feel the noise out there. Central region. Wow. That's my able chairman, Professor Richard Kofi Esiedu and his deputies. Oh, when I go to Eastern region, I didn't recommend or I didn't talk about our national chairman who is from the Eastern region. National chairman, you and your team are most welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come come to stay. Kings may go, kings may come, but the revolution has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
Very well. At this moment, may I take the honor to invite our national chairman of the party, Dr. Samuel Ofosu Ampofo. Let's give him a lot of applause. Chairman, you are welcome to Central Region.
Patron of the land, and seek your future. Development our goal, from vision to vision, the NDC shall lead. Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to vision.
Thank you. Our members of parliament here present, our reefs from all the regions, members of the National Executive Committee, our members from the diaspora community. I have seen a number of you here. Our friends from the various media houses, fellow Akatamansonians. It is indeed a pleasure for me to stand before you here this afternoon to address you as part of the 10th Youth and Women National Conference, which is being held here in the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast. This venue reminds us of the history of this party, that when the party was being launched some 30 years ago, Cape Coast was the venue for the launching of the NDC party. And so Central Region continues to play a very central role in the scheme of affairs of the great NDC party. We started this journey just after the 2020 elections, when we left the Supreme Court and the unanimous 7 gave the verdict against us.
a decision was taken that the road to victory in 2024 began at that very moment when we left the Supreme Court. Therefore, we set ourselves to do a number of activities, including national retreats, regional retreats, and several organizational activities that were all aimed at restructuring and repositioning our party for victory 2024 and beyond. I am happy to announce here that the NDC has successfully held branch elections in all the over 40,000 branches across the length and breadth of this country. And we have held them very successfully. For the first time, we can attest to the fact that national officers, regional officers, members of parliament, former ministers, former DCEs, members of the professional forum group, our cadres and progressive forces all got themselves involved in dealing with one of the nagging challenges that we had in the party, that is the branch of the party. We all agree that elections are won at the branches, and for that matter, we decided to concentrate much effort and energy on building strong branches. And today, I can announce to you that the NDC Foundation, which is the branches, is firmly anchored and firmly rooted for victory 2024. We continued with constituency conferences, and we have organized it so much with efficiency that people even don't remember that constituency elections are going on around the country because of the systems and structures that were put in place. After the successful constituency conferences, we then veered into the regional conferences. And I want to also report to you that we have held regional conferences in all the 16 regions and elected officers who are now manning various positions and leading the charge in the various regions towards our quest to capture power in 2024. This event marks the penultimate event leading to the Grand National Congress that will elect new leaders to lead the party. We as a Social Democratic Party value the role of youth and women in the organization of this party because we believe that it is a vibrant youth, a vibrant women's group that will enable the party to mobilize and energize the resources, the human resources of this country towards our eventual victory in 2024. Therefore, it is my request that we must take this youth and women's conference, we must attach all the seriousness that it deserves because the youth and women are critical to our success in 2024. We can attest to the fact that the NDC has created a very open platform for all the candidates to assess all the structures of the party without let or hindrance. And I believe that the various candidates have campaigned vigorously throughout the period that was allotted to them. My advice is that let's ensure that unity of purpose guides our actions, our thoughts, and the way we go about things. Because after this Congress, we wish to see a more united party where the women will work hand in glove to ensure that we as a party will move forward towards victory in 2024. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana is at crossroads, and the NDC is the only hope for the nation, as the theme of this conference vividly captures. Rallying for victory 2024, Ghana's hope. Ghana's hope is the NDC, and NDC represents the best hope for Ghana. I therefore convey fraternal greetings from our only surviving president and the former president of the Republic of Ghana, our flag bearer in the 2020 elections, and God willing, our hope for years to come, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to all of you. It is the expectation of leadership that the organizers of this conference, the Electoral Commission, will apply themselves assiduously to the task that has been offered to them, so that at the end of the day, we will have cause to glorify God for how far He has brought us. My advice to the various candidates is that in competitions like this, there will be losers and there will be winners. But at the end of the day, democracy should be the winner, NDC should be the winner, because we want to see a united party moving forward for victory in 2024. This conference is being held at a time that Ghana is going through excruciating economic hardship. Prices of goods and services are rising astronomically, and Ghanaians have lost hope in the incompetent management of the economy by the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration. We want to assure all Ghanaians that the NDC hold the key to reviving the economy and creating an environment where everybody will have peace of mind and freedom to carry out all our activities. I therefore want to urge all of you that from this conference, let us read what has been written on this billboard. I pledge to work for victory of the NDC. What about you? I think my expectation is that you will also say that I will also do the same. The work and the road to 2024 requires all of us to work together in unity. Therefore, let us all rise above partisanship and work towards one common goal, bringing the party together and working for unity and victory in 2022. On this note, I have the singular honor and privilege to declare the 10th Youth and Women Conference of the NDC duly open. Thank you, and God bless us all. Thank you.
Professor Kenano, the blessings of God. is our land. Victory is our land. JJ is the winner. Arise, for Ghana, of the truck of the land. Forward and secure future. People love me. Our goal.
The 10th NDC Youth and Women's Conference 2022 happening live here at the University of Cape Coast premises. There you had the national chairman of Osuampofo officially opening the ceremony or the conference. Well, Senior Eric is still with me here. Chairman has stated quite a number of things that they are expecting to see right here as far as this election is concerned. But I'll go through a few of them quickly before Senior Eric joins me. He mentioned the history of, the history behind why they chose the central region or Cape Coast, to be precise, as the venue for this particular election. He captures or talks about the Free for All campaign and wished all delegates the very best of luck. He also spoke about one particular thing that the NDC stands for, that is the unity of purpose. He mentioned that to be one of the prestige of the NDC. Well, not too many, internal wranglings as far as this election is concerned. We haven't seen too much of the internal wranglings here and there. So the unity of purpose as stated by the chairman is apt. Now he also spoke about the fact that, or he went further to advise the NDC to be the winner at the end of the contest, and then also assure delegates to try as much as possible to come out with the best candidate as the winner. And he also reminded us that the NDC holds the key to the current economic problems. So I think most of the people we spoke to a few minutes ago, they mentioned this particular one, that they are poised to reclaim power from the NPP, most especially bearing in mind the current economic tantrums we find ourselves in. Well, it's been a long journey so far. We are 20 minutes after the hour 1. We're supposed to start this program.
So it would look like part one has been of done. The program has just started.
Okay, rather started? Official.
I have an idea about how the program will look like. I'll share it shortly.
Okay.
But so far, it looks like it's going on smoothly. A lot of us are still a little concerned about the delay. We are told that after the messages from the leaders of the party, the second part will start. The second part would then be the call by the EC to the reason why we are here.
Okay.
The election of the persons the party wants to lead them. Now, this is how it will go. They will put together the delegates. The EC will take over. It will then be in charge of the second part of the process. We are told that 4 booths will be made available to fast track the process. You remember I spoke to the chairman of the local organizing committee, and he acknowledged the fact that it's delayed. But the explanation was that some of the delegates arrived today. We know some of them also arrived yesterday. As we speak, many of the delegates are seated. Normally, when this process the drumming, the dancing, the movement within the space where we sing, it will tell you that we have some of the founding members of the party. We have former MPs, former ministers, former party executives, and then all of them are in there, and some of them are even lobbying candidates because they have an interest. I was speaking to one former member of parliament who is the director of administration of the party, and he said he became a member of parliament in 1992, but for the exercise that was starting officially, I would have loved to ask him to tell us what kind of leadership is the party looking at. So at the time they were electing him the member of parliament in 1992, that was the same time you had the kinds of Harun Edrusus and so on, who were also coming into the fold, the E.T. Mensahs and so on, who were also in the fold and so on. So I wanted to find out from him the level of party activism at that time, 1992, right after the military regime, when the 1992 constitution was born. MPP was a political party. They boycotted elections, the first parliamentary elections. NDC was a political party formed out of the PNDC with Rawlings as their leader. So I wanted to have a feel from him the kind of atmosphere, and when we talk about politics, how it used to be. But for now, that is how it's been. It looks like you have picked some information about what has truncated the process.
For viewers to understand this vividly, there is actually some power fluctuation in the main auditorium. Thus, we lost sound, but I understand that's been rectified. The technicians are actually working on that, and once we get the sound back, we'll be joining the main auditorium for the entire process to continue.
So it will look like the part one hasn't officially ended. And so
now,
just after the chairman was wrapping up, we had that power fluctuation, and that is being rectified. And so for those of you who have just joined Wizard TV, this is the live coverage of the 10th NDC Youth and Women Conference 2022. How do you call it? Randy has the theme for the event this year, and don't forget that after this youth and women conference, the party will converge again for the bigger one, which will be at the Accra Sports Stadium next Saturday. So next Saturday, but this time you will be glued by your TV set watching Wizard TV, TVXYZ, which will be bringing you live coverage from different angles. And you must also remember that at the event that will be taking place in Accra, we'll be looking at the chairman, the general secretary, the Zongo caucus, and several other portfolios in the party. Randy, I think you have that list. If you have it, you may want to share with us those when they converge in Accra, who they will be voting for. And so that is what I want us to share while we are waiting for the Congress, the conference to resume after the electrical problem is rectified. So at Accra, what will be happening?
All right, so in Accra, so that's basically in about a week time, we'll be the NDC will be going to the polls once again to elect the chairman. So I'm going to help you understand or know the race so far. You have the incumbent Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who spoke a few minutes ago. He's still in that race. He's being contested by the general secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia. There is also Ni Ama Ashite and also Samuel Yao Eduse. So these four men are contesting or vying for that particular slot. Who becomes the winner will be determined on Saturday at the Accra Sports Stadium. But of course, you need some deputies or vice chairman to assist this particular chairman as well. So for the slot of the vice chairman, you have Abanga Yakubu Hassan, you have Seth Ofori Ohini, Sharif Abdul Nasiru, Alhaji Habibu Adramani. We also have Alhaji Amadu Abukari Sorogo. That's a popular name you can't go without. Awudu Sofo Azoka is also in the race. That's also another name that when mentioned, it comes with memories. Dr. Sherry Ashayite is also in that race, and also Evelyn Enyonam Mensah in that particular race as well.
So that does it with the chairmanship.
Yeah.
Of course, we will also look at the general secretary and other positions. For the chairmanship, it looks interesting, but for now, public opinion or opinion NDC delegates suggest that two of them are the hot candidates, the incumbent and General Johnson Asedu Nketia. There are two others, Asini Amashite and a fourth person. So far, it doesn't look like the competition is carrying them along. And then if you look at the deputy chairmanship position too, there are some interesting names there. Yeah. But for those who have just joined us, it looks like very soon the event will be rolling up. So if we'll get the feedback, we'll join the main Congress grounds and then we continue from there.
Well, so if we have the indication, then we can cross over quickly to the main auditorium.
We are now going to introduce all the aspirants. We have a total of 1,862 delegates. We also do have 18 aspirants who are contesting for 6 positions. At the right time and in due course, we will give an opportunity to every aspirant to address the conference for a maximum of 2 minutes. At this point, though, I will quickly run through the list of persons who are contesting the various positions. For women's organizer, there are 2 candidates. We have Margaret Ansay and Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisiu. For deputy women's organizer, 4 of them: Abigail Elon Mensah, Jifatega, Jesse Adams, and Hajia Alijata Suleiman Agbentie. For deputy youth organizer, we have 10 of them. And here is a list: Osman Ayariga, Ruth Delacedo, Bright Ludokpo Honu, Karim Benzema, Mohammed Sadiq Gombila, Ahmed Kabiru, Eric Datsin, Pendilok Owusu-Asari, Obed Opinta, and Jude Sekle. And last but not the least, 2 candidates or 2 aspirants for the position of youth organizer. 1, Broja Jenfi. 2, George Opare Adu. So ladies and gentlemen, here is a list of the aspirants, 18 of them contesting for 6 positions in the women and youth wings of our party. At this point, though, I have the singular honor and pleasure of inviting Honorable Al-Hassan Suyini, a very, very accomplished broadcaster and distinguished MC. He is also a very fine young member of parliament. Please put your hands together for him as he comes to take you through the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable James Ajenum Boateng. Maybe it is about time we brought the spirit of the NDC into this auditorium. And on that note, I'll plead with all of us to rise and to give your attention to me as we invoke the spirit of the party to perhaps be blessed so we can continue with the program. Hey, 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 hey. The victory of NDC is coming again. And the people say, hey, Joe, Bojo. The victory of NDC is coming again. And the people say, hey, Joe, Bojo. Say, 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 and the people say, hey, Joe Bodo. I thank you very much. Please let's resume our seats. And let us all who can reach the various contestants do so and invite them to take this glorious opportunity to show respect to the delegates that are seated waiting to have them address them today before we hand over to the Electoral Commission to conduct this election. With us here today are delegates from across the country, from all the 16 regions and all the constituencies. We have already been addressed by the national chairman of the party. We will also be getting a word from the chairman of the organizing committee soon. And right after that, we will take reports from the National Youth Organizer who I saw a while ago. We will also take a report from the National Women Organizer who is a contestant. Then we will take our break and return to conduct the election. So it is not meant to be a very long program. But I will at this point once again urge everyone who has the contact of the contestants to urge them to show themselves to the delegates at this point. They must take their seats so that they can be appropriately recognized and given the opportunity possibly to address the conference before voting take place. I think it is only a mark of respect if they show up. But at this point, I will invite the DJ to pass one of the part songs so that we can crave the indulgence of chairman of the local organizing committee to address the conference.
Mama, oh baby, yo, obey, obey, order number 2, this girl translate, Ayeza, NDC, Miawe, Aladani Zongo, Kamami, Ingelezo, Kana Bebia, Sotupo.
Thank you very much, DJ. Once again, maybe a final one, appealing to the contestants, 18 contestants, to please take their seats, because right after the address by the local organizing committee, we will begin to introduce and acknowledge the contestants. And if they are absent, probably their seats will be shown to all. And I'm sure the delegates will decide what that means. But please, if you know any contestant, this is the time to let the contestant know that he or she must take his or her seat. And let me pay tribute to Alhaji ABA Fuseni as I borrow a proverb. Am I permitted to? Yes. In Dagbani they say that if you walk through the rain and you don't get wet, a bucket of water will not cut it. If you have had many days to campaign and it did not help you, it is not this last few hours that will make the difference. If you have walked through rain and you don't get wet, a bucket of water will not make any difference. So please tell them to come and take their seats so that we will give them the opportunity to possibly address Congress. But on this note, with all respect that I can gather, I invite you with a round of applause to welcome to the stage, with a round of applause, a resounding one, the local organizing committee chairman of this conference, Honorable Alex Segwefia. Please, a round of applause for him.
Good afternoon to all of you. Ayazu, Ayaza, Ayazu, MFA. Can I take this opportunity to add my voice to the welcome of all of you for this 10th Women and Youth Conference that is the precursor to the main Congress, which will take place next week Saturday at the Accra Sports Stadium. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all members of the planning committee, all the regional executives who have ensured that the delegates have come in today, and for the tireless efforts and sacrifices many have made for all of us to be here today. A lot has been said with regard to the reason we are here and the importance of our women and youth in the development of the country and the part they play within the National Democratic Congress. Hopefully today we should be able to elect two new officers in both the women's section and the youth section. Can I kindly indicate that we are not too happy with the fact that accommodation that was given to some of the delegates was not used on the campus of the university. It has created some delay and that is why some of you are still trickling in. It cannot go without being said that actually when a party plans and put things together of this nature, there are security concerns as well as accommodation costs that are looked at. And not to adhere to the restrictions and the directives of the party is not acceptable. We want to put everybody on notice that we hold the regional women and youth organizers responsible for anyone who did not use the premises here, and whichever new executive comes in after the 18th, we'll be looking at possible sanctions of such individuals. it will not be left so that it does not repeat itself in 4 years' time. It is also important to take note that the EC will soon be coming in to see whether we can conduct these elections. We have certain issues which we are still resolving, but without much ado, we will not be looking to ensure that we spend more time seated doing nothing. I would ask and beg the indulgence of all of you to take a short lunch break of approximately 45 minutes so that at 1/2 the next hour we can all converge and begin to look at the voting process. I want to take this opportunity once again to say that a lot of effort has gone into putting this program together, and I pray and hope that we'll end up with a successful conference. On that note, I take this opportunity to say God bless you all. Thank you.
Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
As you heard from the chairman of the local organizing committee, they are taking a short break for lunch. Many of the delegates have been waiting for the past 4 hours. Some came last night. We understand that the organizers are not too comfortable with the delay. And so as we speak, the delegates will be taking a 45 minutes break, after which we'll enter the second part. The second part would mean the EC is taking over. By that time, all the candidates would have been around. They will be introduced formally to the delegates, and then EC will take over, and the voting will start running.
It's going to be quite a long day, but of course, let's see how it's going to pan out to be. But you see, the whole thing looks like, I mean, what's really happening to the delegates?
The delegates have delayed.
How come they are not here?
The delegates are around.
Because this program was supposed to have started at 10 a.m.
Yes.
And it's almost 2 p.m. and we are still, asking and pleading, virtually pleading with the delegates and then the aspirants to come in.
And that is why the chairman of the local organizing committee said, after they call the delegates, so the candidates, and they introduce them, anybody who's not here, they will show an empty seat.
Yes.
So it looks like they are now trying to crack the whip.
But for me, I feel that is even to your disadvantage, because you would have the opportunity to speak to the larger number of people who are seated in the auditorium. Because that, according to the lineup, they would have given the time to the candidates to address the delegates.
This is the observation I made. It appears some of the candidates may not have had the opportunity to go around the whole country, so they may have used this place to try to reach out to as many from the regions, and some of them may have ended up keeping some of the delegates with them for too long. And so as soon as they release them, other candidates also try to take advantage to engage them to send their last message before the voting starts. But as we speak, they are introducing the candidates. So I would ask us to go inside the auditorium to follow proceedings, and we wrap up after that.
Please be reminded.
All right, so we'll try as much as possible to cross over to the main auditorium, because we understand some of the candidates are available. Well, if we don't have that now, but more people are still arriving according to what we pick from the main background. I mean, it seems a lot of people are arriving. We saw Pablo, who is the incumbent youth organizer. He just passed by, also moving towards the main auditorium as well. But let's see how it pans out to be.
I'm also making an observation. It appears some of the candidates are trying to test the ground even before voting starts. So you see them moving around. just looking at faces, looking at body languages of people, looking at expression on their faces, to have a feel of what is most likely to happen, because what they are observing outside, the applause or otherwise, is what will inform them about what they can anticipate. And that is another thing I'm observing, and all is part of what goes into such elections. But I can only sympathize with the candidates, because it appears some of the seats will be very, very keenly contested. And as the late Sir John said, you can't trust delegates these days. They may listen to you, you may decide to even tell them all the wonderful stories in the world. They may have made up their mind, but out of respect, they will wait and listen to you. You can keep them for as long as you want, but when they leave and they enter the cage, that is when they will decide.
And for me, that has been my position all throughout, that I mean, by now the delegates should have decided. I don't know what really would necessitate a change of mind. You had all these ample
you asked that question
I spoke with Osman Ayariga. Now, interestingly, he told me that he started his campaign 2 years ago. You can just imagine, 2 years ago, that was in 2020. So he might have thought perhaps the larger parts of the country. According to him, he mentions that along the line, when economic hardship came here and there, he had to pause it for a while. When COVID also came in the early parts of 2020, he had to pause it for a while. But according to him, he says that he has done most of the touring. So he doesn't really need to keep the delegates waiting as at now. I spoke with him in the auditorium and he was fully ready. He was already seated.
He was very confident.
Very confident. And I think that, yes, if you really want to win, you should have started way back. It's not today. And you see, delegates will take advantage of the situation, knowing so well that, well, you might not have reached out to us, but today, because you think that it is a final day, few minutes, few hours to the voting, you are now coming to talk to us. That is where the issue of hand go, hand come begins. And for me, I think that it is a no-no. We wouldn't want to see that in this particular election.
If I were a delegate, it is not about the number of times you visit me.
Okay.
That should influence how I decide.
Okay.
It will be my appreciation of your track record, or what I believe you can do.
Okay.
That should inform
your
my
decision.
And so while some of the delegates appreciate that, those who visit them do so out of respect. They don't take them for granted. They want to reach out. They want to have one-on-one and spend time with them to understand concerns that they have. You know, some of the candidates, when they go around, they spend time listening to the people as well. They may hear complaints about other people who may be contesting or maybe incumbents who have had challenges that may have disappointed them, for which reason they may want to listen to another candidate and take a decision. So the process is quite complicated, but I would say that even if I had the opportunity to plan 2 years ago and I would have done all the rounds, met all the people, at this stage anything can happen. Human beings are not robots, they are not machines, to the extent that once they have made up their mind, they may not change. Somebody at the very dying minute may pass a word or two and change somebody's mind. That is why sometimes people enter cages and within 3, 4, 5 minutes they are still in there and they become confused. They cannot even vote till somebody prompts them that they are wasting time. So naturally there are people who are very indecisive, and till the very last minute they may still be hanging on till they are very ready to go and vote. So this may happen. So let's take it. But I think the signal that came from Alex Segbefia should be strong enough. The party should not wait for any candidate who is disrespecting the time, the official time that has been mentioned or sent across for this exercise to start.
Anyway, so well, we might be taking a quick break, and officially it means that part 1 of the whole ceremony has really ended, and of course part 2 will begin when the EC takes over. Any more information on what's happening?
Yes, so that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I had a copy of the program. I call it tentative copy, and so I wanted to share. So you would notice that, as you said, it was supposed to have started at 10 o'clock with an opening prayer, opening of the conference, which has been done now, welcome address by the Central Regional Chairman done, roll call of regions by a central regional organizer, I don't think that has been done. Presentation of the report by the national youth organizer has not been done. Presentation of report by the national women organizer has not been done. Address by the chair of the Congress Elections Committee, Alex Segbefia, has been done. Now when we come back for the part 2, the part 2 will be the introduction of the aspirants. Then the handing over of proceedings to the Electoral Commission, casting of votes, declaration of winners, brief remarks by newly elected national women's and youth organizers, then closing remarks, closing prayer, and those who can begin their journey back to the constituencies may do so today. So that's a brief about what will happen from this time till the results are declared.
Well, so it means that we still have a long way to go.
Yes, a long way to go.
I don't know if it means that they are going to skip some of the key points that were supposed to be in the part 1.
No, they are statutory. So every conference, it is almost like a president who is handing over. He has to make some comments. So you debrief the constituents, the delegates, and so at that stage the women's organizer would have to speak to the delegates to let them know so far how far we are and what they expect to happen going forward, and that will be the document the party will own, so that when the next leadership take over, they will take that speech and then go to follow up on the things they need to look at, and then do the reconciliation and then move on from there. So the address by the national youth organizer and the women organizer should be part of this conference. The voting cannot start without it. That is why I believe that the organizers are becoming worried by the overly what we call the delay so far. But I strongly believe that after the 45th minute, when the Congress or the conference is recalled, I think there will be no room for some of these delays.
Anyway, so I think that on that note, we could actually take a break now. But once again, if you are just tuning, this is the live telecast of the NDC's 10th annual delegates conference happening here at the Central Region at the University of Cape Coast premises. Remember, you are also live on Wezo TV and TV XYZ. I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing this with my senior colleague Eric Ahianyo, and also Wisdom. He's been with us since morning. Most definitely, when we come back for the part 2, we will still see Wisdom more. He will engage a few others, so we get to know what exactly the terrain looks like. My name is Randy Ahaji. Let's take a breather. We'll come back for the part 2. Stay with us.
Ali.